Okay, well, I guess we might as well start then. So thank you for joining us today. This afternoon, I will be introducing a private member's bill that, if passed, would require all single-use coffee pods sold in Ontario to be compostable. It is my hope that the Reducing Waste One Pod at a Time Act will help make Ontario a global leader in waste reduction while supporting a made-in-Ontario innovation and local businesses. I'm joined today by Doug Burns, the CEO of Muskoka Roastery, a company in my riding that is dedicated to innovation and sustainability. I'm also joined by Claudio Giamiti, the Innovation Officer at Club Coffee, a company based here in Toronto, as well as Dr. Renee Van Acker, Dean of Ontario Agriculture College at the University of Guelph. Club Coffee recently collaborated with the Bioproducts Discovery and Development Center at the University of Guelph to produce the world's first 100% compostable single-serve coffee pod. The Pure Pod 100 is used by several Canadian companies, Muskoka Roastery, Loblaws, and McDonald's Canada, to package their single-serve coffee products. I'd like to begin by explaining why I believe it is necessary to allow only the sale of compostable single-use coffee pods in Ontario. Last month, the Environmental Commissioner said it clearly: Ontario has a waste problem. In a year, each Ontarian creates on average 1,800 pounds of waste, only 25% of which is recycled. According to the government's own research, the amount of waste produced by Ontarians is expected to increase by 40% by 2050, requiring the creation of 16 new landfill sites. Packaging, mainly made of plastics, constitutes 1/4 of the waste produced by Ontarians. Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down and in the meantime contributes to pollution and threatens ecosystems, especially when it ends up in our lakes and oceans. Single-serve coffee pods are a particularly large source of plastic waste. The single-serve coffee industry has grown rapidly. Such coffee makers are now the #1 selling household appliance and can be found in 38% of Canadian homes, and in 2015, 49% of coffee sold in grocery stores was in the single-serve format. Almost 1.5 billion coffee pods end up in Canadian landfills every year. In an interview with The Atlantic in 2015, John Sylvan, the inventor behind Keurig's K-Cup, admitted he regrets creating the disposable coffee system. The problem, however, has to do with packaging, not with the practice of brewing single-serve coffee. In fact, compared to standard drip coffee, single-serve coffee uses less water and less energy. There are two conceivable ways to reduce the packaging related to waste generated by single-serve coffee. The first is to make single-serve coffee pods recyclable. The second, and in my opinion the preferable option, is to make them compostable. While there are some recyclable coffee pods on the market, their usage is not yet widespread. The significant drawback, however, is that recycling coffee pods is not convenient. In order to recycle a single-serve coffee pod, the plastic cup must be separated from the compostable coffee grounds, a finicky process, and I have here to demonstrate. I would have to, having brewed coffee with this, try to get the top off of it, and there's actually 4 parts inside. I'd actually have to clean it out before it could be put into recycling. Consumers who are purchasing single-serve coffee products because of their convenience are not likely to take the time to properly recycle the pods. Even if coffee pods are recycled properly by the consumer, small plastic packaging, especially food packaging, is often sorted out of the recycling system due to fears of contamination. For these reasons, making coffee pods recyclable is not an ideal way to reduce waste. The best solution is to make them compostable. As I mentioned earlier, Club Coffee teamed up with the University of Guelph to produce the world's first 100% compostable single-serve coffee pod. This is an impressive achievement and is certainly a good news story of research, innovation, and entrepreneurship in our province. Tests have shown that the Pure Pod 100 breaks down in as little as 5 weeks, faster than many other items accepted into municipal green bin programs. And because the whole pod and its contents are compostable, the consumer can throw the whole thing in their green bin. So why have compostable coffee pods not become the industry standard? It is not because these pods are incompatible with municipal compost systems. The Pure Pod 100 has been successfully tested and approved for composting in Muskoka, Orillia, Peel, Guelph, and Niagara. The larger obstacle is fears of compost contamination. Municipalities are hesitant to accept compostable coffee pods into their compost systems because they are afraid that confused consumers will attempt to compost non-compostable coffee pods, thereby contaminating the compost and driving up costs. This is where my private member's bill comes in. If only compostable single-serve coffee pods are on the market, then the problem of compost being contaminated with non-compostable pods will be non-existent. The current government, with the passage of the Waste-Free Ontario Act, has formally endorsed the concept of a circular economy in which resources are continually being reused. The compost produced by the breakdown of compostable coffee pods is in itself a valuable product that will reliably re-enter the economy. This legislation will not only remove wasteful products from the market, it has the added benefit of creating an environment in which a highly effective, locally developed solution is able to reach its full potential. Thank you, and I will now turn this over to Doug Burns, CEO of Muskoka Roastery. And I first learned the benefits and potential of compostable coffee pods when I had a chance to visit Muskoka Roastery just a few weeks ago. Doug.
Great. Thank you, Norm. I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about choices. Life is really about making choices as individuals, as businesses, or as individuals who are contributing to a community. When Muskoka Roastery was founded, we made the choice to pursue sustainability in every aspect of our business. So we became the first roaster in Canada to source 100% of our coffee from Rainforest Alliance farms. Not 10%, not 50%, 100%, no exceptions. Recently, we've converted all of our energy to bullfrog-powered sourced energy, so we became 100% bullfrog power energy sourced. Today, we're talking about an important choice about the next wave of sustainability, which, as Norm talks about, is the huge portion of the market which is now in single-serve pods. We can continue to move down what I would describe as an environmentally destructive path, which is the path that we're on, in a market which is dominated by foreign companies, not Canadian companies, who do almost no manufacturing in Canada, none in Ontario, and are producing 1.46 billion pods that are going into our landfill sites that is going to create a problem that generations to come will have to deal with. Or we can celebrate and back an important made in Canada technological breakthrough. Canadian technology, manufactured 100% in Canada, that completely solves, as Norm as well laid out, the environmental problem that we are jointly facing. You know, from my standpoint, as our standpoint, this choice is very, very clear. In no other country in the world would we even be having the debate. It's a slam dunk. We need to change courses. We need to celebrate and protect and export this wonderful technology. That will result in not only a fantastic solution for our environment, but will absolutely create jobs in Ontario and in Canada, and thereby will increase tax revenues as well. So this is a, triple or quadruple win for Ontarians, for Canadians, and for the path forward. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Claudia, who's got a few more remarks to make.
Thank you, Doug. So I just wanted to give some background on this. What we've heard today is what we feel is a wonderful made in Canada solution. And for us, it really started with the consumer and consumer choice. And so we saw in the single serve market that consumers love the habit of single serve and the convenience that comes with it, but they weren't enamored with the waste that was being produced. And so we went down the path of anticipating where we might be able to take a solution for the consumer and find something that would deliver real waste reduction without having the consumer change their behavior in a significant way. Those are key attributes for us because, as we've heard, getting consumers to do things that really they're not motivated to do is not a simple thing. And so solutions have to be sought with the consumer in mind. We went down the path of Pure Pod 100 because we recognize that First of all, this pod is 90% coffee. The other 10% is the packaging that we're talking about, and it wouldn't be much different if we were talking about a K-cup. And so expecting that, first of all, something that's 90% organic matter to start off with, and then very difficult to take apart, expecting people to take that apart, we thought was not a winning proposition for a category based in convenience. And so we spent our time trying to look for solutions that could make it as intuitive and simple as possible for the consumer to take that and literally put it in their green bin and be done with it, and not worry about the guilt of feeling like they're creating waste when they're consuming this wonderful beverage. So we went down the path of PurePod 100, 100% compostable. We certified it so that we had actual science behind this actually works, and we went to municipalities across Canada and into the US to actually show it worked. We worked with wonderful people at the University of Guelph who supported us in some breakthrough technology in this ring that actually allows us to rework a waste material, coffee chaff that comes from our roasting process, into this ring. So we actually are taking an end waste from our from our production and putting it back into that ring, which is world-breaking technology and really helps the material break down. So, we also collaborated with the University of Guelph, and they helped us push this innovation forward. And then we had pull from great leaders in the marketplace, like Loblaws, like Doug at Muskoka, who really helped us draw and attract the product into the marketplace, because obviously this is a small part of the market in terms of where we started. And with that kind of pull, I think we've been able to get the marketplace started, but we need more. We need some more fuel here, because the big giants that we've listened and talked about today are clearly going down a different path, and compostability is not the direction they're headed right now. What Muskoka brings to the party, which is really important to the solution, is first of all of this is all for naught if you don't make a great cup of coffee. And Muskoka delivers a great cup of coffee. And that's one thing that the technology actually delivers, right? So we've got a premium format that's compostable, that delivers a great cup of coffee no matter whose coffee you want to put in it. And Doug and his team at Muskoka have been able to leverage that to a great end. Then it actually reduces waste in a way that consumers understand. It's compostable, it's very simple. And finally, great value. Why? Because you don't have to pay more for this technology, and it's made in Canada, and it doesn't cost consumers more. We don't control cost, but we've made it possible for those who do set pricing to be able to offer this at the same price as a K-cup. Other formats are working on a solution. K-cup is working on their recycling solution. We look at that and say they also acknowledge that the consumer wants something, but they're working on 10% of the issue. Because even if you could do all the things they expect people to do and recycle the cup, the rest is still going into landfill. So 90% of the waste is still going to landfill, and that doesn't really address the issue. So we don't think that's a solution that really is going to be supported by consumers. And we know that there are other issues related to that. Globally, there is a move towards compostability in single serve, and I think we need to show some leadership in Toronto, in Canada, to take this made in Ontario and made in Canada solution and show consumers that there is a way to actually make a difference, and maybe to motivate others around the world by taking leadership and actually showing them that this can be done. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Rennie Van Acker, who's from the University of Guelph, who's going to tell you a little bit about their story.
Thank you. Great. Well, thank you very much, Claudio. We are thrilled to be part of this world-leading partnership. We think it's an example of a university being able to take research and knowledge and put it into action. It aligns perfectly with what we have been about at the University of Guelph and the Ontario Agricultural College for almost 150 years now, and it is very much part of the culture at our university to work closely with industry, and so we were thrilled to work with Club Coffee on this particular challenge. Not only that, but we've also had a long tradition of working across that continuum from the field to the fork, and we think this product is such a great example of what can happen here in Ontario, in Canada, where we can provide leadership that goes from fundamental research all the way into application and creates choice for consumers and allows consumers to participate fundamentally in sustainability, which is something that I think everybody wants to do, and to be able to do that in their everyday lives, and not least of which in what we all enjoy is a cup of coffee. We are so thrilled about what these companies have been able to do in terms of helping to develop this technology and then promoting the technology and bringing it right to consumers. It's a pleasure for us to be a part of that. And it's also such a great avenue for us to be able to take some really high science. I think the elegance of the product doesn't really tell you a lot about the sophistication of the technology itself and the difficulty it takes to create that compostability and the reason why nobody else has done it yet. So it is a truly world-leading technology. We're also so thrilled that through government support and through excellence in attracting really highly skilled and enthusiastic young people to work in Dr. Amar Mohanty's Bioproducts Discovery and Development Center, we're able to help to bring this technology to life. And to be part of a world-leading product like this. That is really thrilling for us. And it's part of, I think, what we all want to do, which is to help Ontario to be a leader in the food sector and to help grow the food economy in this province and in this country. So we're really thrilled to be a part of that.
Well, great. Well, thank you for that. And I want to thank Doug Burns from Muskoka Roastery for letting me know about these compostable coffee pods and for coming down today. I'm glad you made it with the state of Highway 400. He came down last night, so we missed the terrible accident that happened. And I also want to thank Renee Van Asker, Dean of the School of Agriculture at the University of Guelph, for coming, and Claudio Jamita, Chief Innovation Officer at Club Coffee, for joining me today. And I want to remind everyone that 1.5 billion coffee pods go into Canadian landfills every year. And just to give you an idea of the size of that, this is 100 coffee pods in this little bucket here. I would also like to thank Cassandra Lowen, my legislative intern, who's done a lot of work on this, very great help, and Leslie Daw, my executive assistant, who's also worked really hard on this. And at this time, I'm very pleased that we have some media here, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Norm, excuse me, are you expecting any pushback?
Initially, I thought there might be some pushback from municipalities, but I actually think it helps them. It helps them because they're concerned with this contamination issue, that if they accept Muskoka coffee pods and even encourage Muskoka coffee pods in their program, that people will be confused and they'll be throwing all coffee pods in them. But this, if all the coffee pods sold are compostable, it really makes it simpler for them. And in the same way that I think it makes it, it simplifies things for business as well. That was the reaction I got from Loblaws, that certainty is a good thing, and they would be fine with that. I know there's some that might think it's too much regulation, but I think it's regulation that actually is very positive. It's the best solution for the environment, and it actually simplifies things for business, in my opinion.
That's something your party has always been fighting, is regulation. So,
yeah, I mean, I as I just stated, I think this is a positive regulation that creates certainty for business and actually makes it easier to do business. Not only that, of course, this is a Canadian invention, so it's going to be supporting Canadian universities and Canadian businesses that have created this worldwide invention, and it's by far the best solution for the environment. And I think for all those people that drink coffee every day and make their single-use coffee, I think they'll feel a lot better about using this. And I have to say that the Muskoka coffee is delicious coffee. I'd highly recommend it. In fact, I think we handed one out to you this morning.
I don't have a single-use coffee maker.
We don't have any of those to give away today.
There's probably a reason for that.
Sorry, if I could just try to
keep the details straight here. So the PurePod 100 that works in a standard Keurig machine that I could buy at Loblaws, and Muskoka Roastery is currently using that pod.
Yeah, we're a licensee of that technology.
Right. Any other big those big three?
Yeah, so
Also
Mick Cafe and also Loblaws, the President's Choice brand, are all using the Pure Pod. And are there any others?
Yeah, there's several others, and we've got a whole list on our website, but there's a number of both Canadian and U.S. Brands.
Norm, the government has been moving in the direction of more like extended producer responsibility things. You know, they're talking about a bunch of different things, but some of it is like deposit return. In lieu of, if the government comes back and says we're just not going to entertain this idea of banning disposable pods, would you consider other options?
I don't like the word banning too much.
Well, I mean, it's effectively what you're doing.
And I'm pleased to see the government doing its extended producer responsibility, because I had a private member's bill 12 years ago was product stewardship. It was exactly that. So I'm glad they picked up on that and are actually doing it, because obviously I supported it as I had a private member's bill. I just see so many positives for this, and as even talking to industry, they think the certainty is not a bad thing, and it solves a problem for municipalities. It solves a problem for industry. At least they know what they're doing. And the other thing is, if the bill passes, we are putting in a 4-year time frame before it would actually come into effect, so that first of all, there's time to adjust to the new reality.
Sorry if I missed it, but is your ballot coming up? Was this
November 23rd.
And so,
Yes.
and you'll be bringing this bill for
I
second.
will be debating this bill on November 23rd.
When does it get tabled? Tomorrow or not?
Today.
Today?
I will introduce it in a couple of hours.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you coming.